Shark Week. It's interesting watching some of these stories. We had lived down in Florida for a time, and I remember swimming in the ocean and going scalloping and catching these littles. If you see the gas station sign, Shell gas station, and you see that shell on there, that's a scallop. Obviously, they're not that big, but the ones we were catching were about like this. They look just like that shell, and you're in 7 to 10 feet of water, and you have to go out a few miles, and you're just swimming all around, and I forget what kind of fish it is. It's those fish that attach themselves to other fish, and they kind of swim along with them. And well, a bunch of those showed up, and there was a few of them. They were this long. I mean, there were some big ones. And we're swimming around, and I look, and one of us might be over here, one over here. And you're just snorkeling. You're 7 to 10 feet of water. You swim down. And so the captain of the boat, he's in the boat and everything, and we all get back in, and he goes, what's interesting? Those don't just swim all around the ocean. He goes, those, they come in on something. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. And he goes, so there was something around there that was big, and I was like, well, that's really comforting. I'm glad I'm back in the boat, and I'm not going back out now. So you watch Shark Week. If I don't ever go scalloping again, I'm good. I perfectly good boat, perfectly good fishing pole. I am perfectly content right there. And Shark Week will kind of spook you a little bit. You guys awake this morning? Come on now. Is this side awake? Yeah. Is this side awake? Yeah. Is the front row awake? Oh. Must be in church. All the church people sit in the back. It's kind of funny, like a lot of times guests, first timers, they come in and like all the back rows are already taken. So we force all our guests to the front. It's hospitality. Woo, church. Speaking on all authority today. We understand authority, right? If you have a job, you understand authority. Some of you hold a title, manager, head, leader, supervisor. We understand authority. If you've been in the military, we have some veterans here. We have different ones. We understand authority. Authority has with it power. The connotation of power has the ability to be abused. We understand authority. We encounter authority every day of our lives. Authority can come in a person. Authority can come in a fixture. When you drove here this morning, you probably encountered a few authorities. Stoplights. Go light. Why do we call them stoplights? Go lights. Yield lights, That light changes. It has the authority to stop you. Does it have the power to stop you? No, but it has the authority to stop you. It also has the authority to cause you to go. It has the authority to warn you. Authority. We understand authority, but all authority. Now, that's a tough one. All authority. All authority means nobody else has a say. It means nobody else has an opinion that matters. All authority. That one takes us into a whole new realm because the mission that Jesus has called his church, his people, his followers to is all about authority. His authority. And when you boil everything down about what we believe to be true about God, it all comes down to authority. Simple definition of authority is this. Authority, the right or power to command obedience or belief. The right or power to command obedience or belief. We get that first one. The power to command obedience. If you're a parent, you understand. You need to do this. You need to go from here to here. You need to pick this up. We understand this idea of obedience. If you have a job, you understand the idea of obedience. We need you to file this. We need you to do that. We need to build this. We need to think about this. We need to plan for this. We understand commanding obedience, but commanding belief? That's a new one. All authority comes into that realm of you're going to believe this way. Now, people can get their mind around obeying something. Even something they may not agree with, they'll obey. But believing something they don't agree with, obeying that's a different scenario. But an all-loving, all-creating, all-consuming, all-powerful, all-present, all-knowing God with all authority can command obedience and command belief. He could dictate everything about us. He could make us do what we don't want to do, what we don't feel like doing. He can make us do what we do feel like doing, what we do want to do. All power, all authority. That takes it into a whole new realm. All authority. Authority also refers to the right and the ability to hold power in a given relationship. If somebody has authority in a relationship, it could be a job, it could be a marriage, they hold power in the relationship. If you find you're in a place of authority and do not have power attached to it, you only have a title. You know, there's people who have the title, they have no power to influence, they have no power to act, they have no power to do. So we understand this idea of authority. I've noticed that over time that many hold the title, watch your toes here, of Christian, yet live as though they have no authority in their life. They have a title, but no authority. There's no power there. You know, fathers, mothers, they have authority over children, not necessarily a neighbor. Army lieutenant has authority of his platoon, but not company commander. Teacher has authority over students in the classroom, but not over the parents. Office manager has authority over the secretaries, but not the CEO. And so authority in our life comes at different levels, but you throw all authority in there, that changes everything. Authority comes in various forms. Every day in our life, we see it in our work, but only one can make the claim of having all authority. Only one. And can have the awesome place, the awesome power to back up the place that nobody can go higher. Jesus made this claim. Matthew 28:18 says, "And Jesus came and said to them, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me." That's huge. All authority on heaven and in earth has been given to me. It's interesting. Probably most of us, when we woke up this morning, didn't wake up thinking, I'm going to a place to celebrate the one who has all authority. You probably didn't wake up thinking, I serve the one who has the first, the last say, that truly can only hold the title of Lord of all authority. We don't usually wake up just thinking, I get to serve the almighty, all authority God. We don't always think about that. Now this morning, what we have before us is communion, and we're going to celebrate that together as a reminder of who God is, of what God has done, because we need to remember that. We cannot forget that. The one we serve has all authority. Jesus claimed it. Sometimes we listen to authorities, they tell us the wrong information. You ever been told the wrong information by the person who's supposedly the authority on a subject? If you've ever been to a border crossing, if you've ever been to a place you go and the authorities are there and they're checking people's identification. I was over in Macedonia a few years ago on a missions trip, and our van made it through the border. We were crossing a border area, and our next van behind us gets stopped, and the guard there decided he needed to exercise some of his authority, and he says, I'll let you pass for this amount of money. I said, we don't have that amount of money. He goes, well, then you're not going to go. Give me your passport. They're like, I'm not giving you my passport. He goes, well, then give me your money. It's going to cost you this amount of money. We're not doing it. We don't have it. So they sit there. He goes, well, then you're not going. And they sit there, and they sit there, and they sit there, and they sit there. About 30 minutes goes by, and finally he goes, okay, you can go. Just exercising his authority. Sometimes there's people that hold a title of authority, and they sometimes feel like they need to exercise it. Can I tell you, God has all authority. It's not like his authority is... Sometimes people live their lives as though, well, if I give God authority, then he has authority. Do you understand whether you give it, I give it, I don't give it, you don't give it, God still has all authority? I love the old shirt. You know, you've seen the shirt, I don't believe in God. I like the shirt that says, God believes in atheists. You know, whether you believe in God or not, he still has all authority. Well, God, I just don't think you're on the throne. Guess what? He's still on the throne. Well, God, I don't think you created all this. Okay, well, I still did. What it is that all authority, when you put that title, all authority, into something, you don't have an opinion anymore. I don't have an opinion anymore. And that's hard for us to take. That's hard for us to get our mind around because our opinions matter. You know what? But here's what's so cool about God is sometimes, you ever have an opinion and it's different than God's? That's just me. And you shoot it out there, and the one with all authority, if I had all authority, if you had all authority, we would probably act different than the one who actually has all authority. You ever thought about that? The one who has all authority actually listens to us. We can go to him. We can boldly approach his throne. He invites us in, and he listens to us. May not change anything, but he does listen to us. And you make your requests known and your petitions known, and God sometimes goes, yeah, okay, yeah, we're still not doing that. But God, you really need to understand. And see, here's the thing. When you don't think God understands, he still understands. When you think God let something through his net or through his hands and something entered your life that this one must have, God, I know this through me, it must have thrown you. He's going, no, I'm good. Oh yeah, I'm still on the throne. I mean, God doesn't get moved. God doesn't change. Yet he's new every morning. I mean, his word is powerful. It's alive, it's active. He has all authority. It's a story. There's a man by the name of Igor Sikorsky. Igor Sikorsky, he designed and built the first helicopter in 1939. If you've ever ridden in a helicopter, it's a wild ride. If you've ever been able to look at a helicopter and just see the mechanics of it. Years ago, Hunter and I, we were on a father-son camp out. A bunch of dads and boys were all together, and the military, we had set up a situation with this huge field, and they flew in an Apache helicopter and landed it in the middle of the field. We all stood around, and they landed it. Then they let us all just come around it, and we could even stand on it. They wouldn't let us get in and sit on the seat, but everything was disengaged. Well, they did let us shoot a few missiles. It was cool. Just kidding. They had all the cylinders, I'm not sure what you call it, that the missiles would go in, but on the front they had the 50 cal gun that will go back and forth when the pilot has the little thing that goes over his eye, he can turn and this gun goes with him. And I'm like, how fast can you get on a target? And he goes, pretty fast. As fast as I can look at it. And I go, how accurate are those? He goes, I can knock a lug nut off at 3,000 meters. I'm like, that's okay. Really cool. Cool helicopter. Awesome. Kids are in awe, and dads were in awe. Igor Sikorsky designed and built the first helicopter, 1939, back when he was only 12. He remembers being told that human flight was impossible. Now, up to the point where he created the first helicopter, obviously human flight had been made possible. Planes had started being designed. But years later, after developing his helicopter, he posted a sign in his factory. And I love this sign. What it says is this: according to recognized authorities and aerotechnical tests, the Bumblebee cannot fly because of the shape and weight of his body in relation to the total wing area. The Bumblebee doesn't know this, so he goes ahead and flies regardlessly. I mean, sometimes authorities will tell us things, and God says something else. I mean, sometimes authorities will come out with this idea, this philosophy, and all authority in His Word will say something else. And everybody's thrown by that. You know what? I always want to lean on the side of the all authority. All you had was the Bible. It's no surprise when authorities rise to discount the all-authority statement of Jesus. It's a hard statement. If you're one that has an authority problem, people will say, well, you got an authority problem. If you're one that doesn't like authority, you want to make your own way, you're going to have a problem with all authority. Because God invariably is going to put you in a situation where you need to have faith in Him. And when He does that and you have a problem with authority, you're really going to have a problem with all authority. Because at that point, you're going to go, but God, I don't like this. And God's going to go, I didn't ask you. And that's a tough one. But God, my opinion counts. Not with me. I have all authority. That doesn't mean I don't value you. That doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean I didn't send my son for you. That doesn't mean that I loved you so much that I gave my only son to die for you. But your opinion doesn't matter right now because I have all authority. That's how God works. That's tough for us, especially those that don't like authority. It's a battlefront of the enemy that he creates. This statement's very true. When authority is removed in a situation, faith and trust are weakened and or impossible. I can give you a practical sense of this. When authority is moved, I've seen this in marriages. Husbands and wives comes together, and let's say there's an infraction, there's an unfaithfulness aspect to a marriage. The husband, the wife, whichever, an authority is removed, which is the covenant of the marriage. Faith and trust are weakened. And sometimes to the point that it's impossible to bring it all back together. And I've seen God take situations that by man it just seems totally impossible. There's no way God could reconcile this, but he does. As people begin to focus on him, he begins to bring things back together. How does he do that? He has all authority. All authority. All authority is an amazing thing. We often have the wrong picture of authority because of our culture, because of how we're raised. We think in terms of title and position. A man by the name of Christian Herter. He was governor of Massachusetts from 1953 to 1957. He was the United States Secretary of State from 1959 to 1961. And he has an interesting story because at one point he was looking for re-election for a second term as governor. And he was busy out collecting votes, just like we see on TV. All these politicians coming on, putting ads out, meeting people, shaking hands, kissing babies. He was in the middle, trying to get reelected for a second term. He had eaten no lunch this one day, and when he came to he'd come to an event, and it was a church barbecue event, and he was going to go hobnob and meet people, and it was late in the afternoon. He was exhausted. He was hungry, obviously. Herter approached the serving line. If you've ever been to a church feed, fellowship, there's a big long line, and he steps in. He's going to start filling his plate. He approaches, and he comes to the point where this woman is serving the chicken, and she put one piece of chicken on his plate, and immediately she turned to the next person in line. He said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I have another piece of chicken?" She said, "Sorry, I'm supposed to give one piece of chicken to each person." He says, "But I'm starved," the governor said. "Sorry," the woman said again, "only one to a customer." And Governor Herter was a modest and humble man. That was what he was known as, but he decided that this time he would throw a little weight around and maybe his title. He says, "Do you know who I am? I'm governor of this state." She said, "Do you know who I am? I'm the lady in charge of the chicken. Move on, mister." I mean, sometimes we misunderstand our authority, don't we? It's a position, it's a title to us. And we treat God that way. I mean, Jesus laid his claim on this world. There's nothing that's outside of the authority of Jesus. He has the right and he has the power to demand allegiance from every soul that exists. That's huge. That blows your mind. He has the right and demand to claim every soul that has existed for all time. I can't get my mind around that. I had a gentleman tell me one time, he goes, "Alan, you know, people get so worried about, well, I need to go here and be in God's will to reach this people and this people and this people." And he goes, "A soul is a soul no matter where it is on planet Earth. A soul is a soul no matter where it is on planet Earth." That's hard to get my mind around because we take and we put people in groups, and this is a more important group maybe than this group. A soul is a soul no matter where it is on planet Earth. Why? Because we have a God who has all authority over all his creation. Jesus said it. He said, Matthew 28, 18 through 20. Jesus came, said to them, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go, therefore." Why? Why are they going to go? Because he has all authority. So go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I'm with you always to the end of the age. I have all authority, therefore go. He didn't say, I have some authority. I have this great plan and idea, therefore go. Now I have all authority. You understand, I have the first say and the last say, therefore go. That changes this whole command, or it should in our hearts and our minds. Go into all the world. Your family, your neighbors, your work, across town, overseas, this nation, wherever. Go into all the world. Why? Because he has all authority. If he didn't have all authority, there is nothing to. What this passage of Scripture is called is the Great Commission. If he doesn't have all authority, then this is just a great suggestion. Because it's going to be in our own power, it's going to be in our own strength, it's going to be in our own mind. And how many times do Christians, followers of Christ, try to live their life that way? God, I'm so weak, I don't have time, I can't do this, I just can't. Are you leaning on the one who has all authority? Because the one who has all authority has all power. He has all knowledge. He has everything you could possibly need to his way, to his will, through his word. All authority. Man, that changes everything. It should change everything. In other words, Jesus builds his church. He gathers his flock from the nations of the world, everyone, through the word of those he sends. Let me bring it down. Through the word of you and I. John Piper said this. He said, the universal authority of Jesus issues a mission that lasts as long as history and extends as far as humanity. That's huge. A mission that lasts as long as history and is as large as humanity. There's not one other leader that has ever been born or that ever will be born that can boast that. Only the one with all authority. To be a Christ follower, you're an ambassador, you're an emissary. Nobody is exempt. If you're a follower of Christ, there's not the excuse of, I don't have time for the things of Christ. Easy, Pastor. Easy, you're getting on my feet. You're getting on my toes. It's tough. It's tough as a pastor, as a leader, when you find yourself, when you find over the year, and I'm talking over the years and years and years, talking to people and going, hey, would you be able to serve? Would you be able to do this and this and that? I just don't have time. I don't have time. Well, what are you making time for with God? What are you doing with what God has given you? The one who is all authority, what are you doing? Well, I don't have time to do that because I'm doing this. Is this promoting his great commission? The one who has put that on all of us, not some of us, all of us. You say, Pastor, you're getting too personal. I didn't get personal. He did. When he came and he died for you and me, when he made a way where there was no other way, the one who sat on the throne, the only throne, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Alpha Omega, the beginning and the end, he sits on the throne and he goes, I love you beyond you. I'm going to come and I'm going to walk among you. And I'm going to be the perfect sacrifice. And I'm going to provide a way where there is no way. And I'm going to equip you to do a plan that you cannot do without me. And he loves us anyway. When we go, God, I don't have time. God, I won't make time. Later, Lord. You would never walk into the throne room of God and physically knowing, seeing, feeling the one with all authority and go, not today. We would never do that with a boss. Your boss says, this needs to be done, and you go, yeah, I don't have time for it today. I'm busy. But we do it with God all the time. Pastor, I'm not feeling the love. Feel the reality. Luke 10:16. The one who hears you hears me, and the one who rejects you rejects me, and the one who rejects me rejects him who sent me. Do you understand the message isn't about you and me, it's about him? The message is not about you and me, it's about him. The cause is not about me, it's about him. The cause is not, this life is not about me, it's about him. You say, I don't like that, because what about me? He has saved you. He has equipped you. He will make your life abundant if you'll put everything at the feet of the one who has all authority. Powerful. The misunderstanding of us going and making disciples of all nations is in the meaning of the words nations. It does not mean political states. Nations, or its synonym, means people. A soul is a soul, no matter where it is on planet Earth. There's no favoritism with Jesus in his mission of his authority. Jesus is not Western. He's not Eastern. He's not Northern. Okay, he's a little Southern. Amen? Okay, so he's not Southern. But I bet he talked with a country accent, okay? By his authority, he is committed to ethnic diversity and unity in the truth of his supremacy. That last part of that, I want you to understand. Truth of his supremacy. The truth of his supremacy. That's challenging for us. Because it reveals sometimes, if I put my trust in the truth of his supremacy, that means I take my opinion and wipe it off of the page, and I put his out front, that no matter what his word says, I live by it. No matter how I feel, I live by it. I make it my standard. I make it my strong tower. I make it a light for my path. It's all authority. By his authority, he's committed to ethnic diversity. So it's not about what I look like versus what somebody else looks like, what their skin tone is, what their background is, what their culture is. It's all based upon the truth of his supremacy, his word. It's not a cause. It's not about rights. Here's the thing. When I encounter someone who has all authority, I don't have rights. We say God gave us the right to choose. He did. And still holds all authority. You can choose him, or you can not choose him. If I don't choose him, I choose consequences. If I choose him, I choose blessing. It's all authority. Changes everything, should change everything in our lives. In closing this morning, my challenge to you today is to realize that we have a huge world before us that needs Jesus. Of all the statements I could put together and try to culminate what this sermon is about, it's for us to understand we have a big world here, but we serve a much bigger God. And he wants to include you and I in this mission. Not a suggestion, it's a mission. We've each been equipped to reach our world because he's with us. He's commissioned us. Every one of us has a part. Here's the question: are you doing your part? Are you operating under his authority in and through your life? Does he have the opportunity to work daily in your life? The scripture says this, Matthew 9:35 and 38. Jesus went throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom, healing every disease, every affliction. And when he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. It says, then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into the harvest. What he saw then plays out even now. Somebody asked me one time, they said, is it easier to pastor a big church or a little church? Depends. It's funny, the ratios kind of play out the same. There's a ratio, I hate it, I don't like it, but oftentimes it plays out. It's called the 80-20 ratio. 20% of the people do 80% of the work. 20% of the people do 80% of the giving. I hate it, I don't like it. Sometimes it'll fluctuate a little better, sometimes below, but that's about where it's at. Crosswalk could be a church of 25-75. Wouldn't that be great? But what if Crosswalk was a church of 100? They just said, you know what? I'm all in. God, 100%. Take everything I've got, 100%. My talents, my gifts, my family, my ideas, my thoughts. I'm going to filter it through your word. I'm not going to take your word and try to filter it through my thoughts, my plans. I'm just going to stand on this. Could it change anything? I think it changed everything. He's able. He's loving. He's powerful. He's almighty. He's all authority. We have before us, I'm going to ask the ushers to come. We have before us this morning really a celebration and a remembrance, what we call communion. It's an ordinance of the church. And in this ordinance, this understanding that it's not just tradition, it's not just something we do because we have to do it. Can I tell you, church, we get to do this. There's days I wake up just like you that God is not the first thing on my mind. What's ahead of me? What I need to do? What I need to plan? Did I forget this? Did I forget that? Did I pay this bill? Did I not pay this? Do I have enough? And the one who has all authority is just waiting with the open invitation to boldly approach his throne and make your requests known. He won't turn you away. I like the scripture. It gives us insight into God. It says, the one enthroned in heaven laughs. Now the context of that is the enemies were coming up and we're going to come against God. And it says, the one enthroned in heaven laughs. Because whether I say he has all authority or not, he still has all authority. Whether I say anything about him, he is what he is. He is Lord. You can't go any higher. The very one that could look at your life and breathe life. The very one that could take an impossible situation and make it possible. The very one that could take hopelessness and turn it upside down, and all of a sudden, there's hope. All authority. That's what we remember in communion. Because we forget it. We forget that God made a way that if I confess with my mouth Jesus is Lord and I believe in my heart that God raised him from the dead, I'll be saved. God, that's too easy. I have all authority. I can make things harder. I can make things easy. And the one with all authority, what's interesting, he makes it easy. He did the hard part. He died for you and me. He took our place because we deserve death. Sin entered the world. Well, I don't like how that was, God, because I didn't even ask to be born into this life. It doesn't matter. He has all authority. Lean on him. He's got a plan for your life. Yeah, but what if I want to do something different? If you lean into him, you'll want to do something perfect because he's going to lead you to his perfect will. The perfect plan, the perfect step for your life. Yeah, but I want to say in it, you know what? You're not understanding what all authority is. All authority is, it's not just his way, it's the best way. It's not just his say, it's his word. It's a map, it's a standard, it's a hope. It's a life that's more abundant than anything you could plan out on your own. That's what communion does, is it reminds us because we forget. Church, I'm going to ask you to stand.